Negreanu is holding deuce 4 suited from the small blind, but he's up against Veldhuis and Harlow, who both have him beat. For now.
King 8 suited for Lex, raised to 1400. Suited 1 gapper for Daniel in the small blind. He calls. Ace 8 for Russ. He's in.
Flop comes ace jack 6. Negreanu understandably checks, but Harlow also checks with pair of aces, giving Veldhuis a free opportunity to scare them off.
He does, betting 2700.
Lex's bet could easily just be a C-bet, which it is, and Russ checks, so he looks pretty weak.
Daniel should definitely be folding here. I have no idea why he's counting his chips. It's hard to imagine a scenario where chasing this draw is worth it. He raises to 7,200. Harlow is in a good spot here with 95% chance to win.
Best hand.
But he folds.
That's a ridiculous fold. Russ just doesn't have enough time or chips to fold there. Why call pre-flop if you're going to fold top pair?
This is why you must attack first on the flop, especially with pair of aces. This could easily be a bluff, but Veldhuis has to think carefully, because even though he's got 80% equity, a king high is not something you usually call with on this flop against Negreanu.
Lex calls.
A stone float.
The turn would have given Russ trips.
Negreanu checks it over, clearly not feeling confident about his 4-2 offsuit. He's looking to see if Veldhuis will take a stab at this pot, but he also checks behind.
The river, the 9 of hearts.
Both these guys were up to the same thing, checking the turn so they can fire a bet on the river without it having to be too big.
There's that Veldhuisian stare.
Negreanu looks like he will try to represent the flush on the river. If he doesn't bet high enough, he might get raised by Veldhuis.
He bets 9,000.
This is a pretty good bet from Daniel. 9,000 makes it seem like he wants to get called. Looks like Lex might have to reconsider his float plans. Lex could very well fold this or follow through on the float maybe, but I don't see him calling.
He does call.
King higher? That's good. Nice call. Jeez. What the hell was that?
That is just a sick, sick call.
Tony G is looking down at ace 8 offsuit, but he's facing arguably the best in the world, Daniel Negreanu, who's holding jack 9 offsuit.
Tony calls.
I'm going to raise you. Nothing crazy, just 2 more.
To 2,800.
I'm committed.
Tony calls.
Committed to the river. He's committed.
The flop comes queen 10 deuce rainbow. The check from Tony indicates he's not as comfortable committing to the pot as he was pre-flop, so Daniel will now be looking to apply pressure. He bets $3,500, which doesn't really give Tony a read, so I don't see how he could fold here.
Tony calls.
He's committed.
Well, he qualified.
He's got hot with ace high. The turn, 5 of clubs.
The turn changes nothing, and Tony checks again. I think Daniel has no choice but to keep attacking here.
That's 7,500.
If Tony thinks his ace high may be good, he's right.
He doesn't seem to be going for the fold like Negreanu wants him to.
He calls.
He's qualified.
Daniel is acting confident, but if the river doesn't deliver him the straight, he might be in big trouble since Tony is first to act.
The river, the 6 of clubs. Tony checks.
I think Tony was planning on betting the river but got scared of the flush.
Another brick for Daniel. Here comes the third barrel.
11,000.
Daniel's really hoping that Tony hasn't qualified.
Tony still looks like he doesn't want to fold, but folding or raising are the only options here. There's no way he just calls.
Qualified with a deuce or a 10?
Ace high.
I thought for sure it was a deuce.
I think Daniel's done a pretty good job of making this look like a value bet.
Easy money. There's so much in there. Take it.
Tony calls.
What if I'm on the show betting, I can't possibly have a pair. Ace is good. I have jack 9.
Tony G, man.
Tom Dwan is looking down on pocket 7s, but he's up against Doug Polk, who's raised to $3,000 with 5-4 suited. 99% of players would just fold with Doug Polk's cards here, but at a cash game of these stakes, the players are mostly playing the players, not the cards. It's a semi-bluff. He's hoping he can steal the pot uncontested.
Woo, 14.
Tom Dwan raises more than 2 times to pot. This is a classic squeeze spot, punishing Doug Polk's wide cutoff open by denying him the cheap positional advantage and forcing him to commit big if he wants to dance. Doug Polk definitely knows he's a big underdog against a small blind 3-bet range. The call here is less about hand strength and more about trying to outplay Tom Dwan post-flop, using position to create fold equity.
Doug Polk opening the suited connector in the cutoff. Tom Dwan puts in the 3-bet from the small blind and flops middle sets. 31,000 in the middle.
In 3-bet pots, the pre-flop aggressor usually controls the story, and this board gives Tom all the credibility in the world. Doug's range has a lot of air here, so Tom can lean into that advantage and apply maximum pressure, knowing position alone won't save Doug if the bets start piling up.
Doug Polk is going to float.
I don't know why, but I thought Warren just said all in for a second, and I was like, whoa.
Needs running cards to make a hand.
The 6 of hearts on the turn gives Doug Polk an open-ended straight draw, and knowing his maniac style of playing, it could cost him a lot of money.
Could win on the river with an 8 or a 3.
Tilt software, let's get this shit going.
This should be, yeah.
Another half pot bet.
115.
And Doug's going to raise.
By inflating the pot here, Doug Polk is putting maximum pressure on Dwan's range and setting up the possibility to shove the river whether he hits or not.
I call.
Interesting.
Battling.
Tom Dwan knows Doug loves bluffing, so he checks to trap him.
420.
420.
What are we doing?
You win. I know I win, probably.
Uh-oh.
Aussie Katola opens the button to 150K with King-Jack offsuit. That sizing keeps Foxen's range wide and gives Katola position plus initiative with a hand that flops strong pairs and good 2-pair combos. Alex Foxen defends the big blind with 8-6 of diamonds. Suited connectors are bread and butter, defends heads up. They realize equity well, threaten powerful semi-bluffs on many turns, and can cooler 1-pair hands. On the flop, Foxen checks his second pair with backdoor flush possibilities and tons of turn cards to attack. Katola checks back top 2. That's deliberate pot control and deception on a very dynamic texture. The front door diamonds arrive and the ace smashes ranges.
Foxen made the flush. And Katola has completely under-repped his hand.
We saw this before though, Randy. Aussie checked back Jack 10. Allowed Foxen to improve to a backdoor flush and was able to find a river fold.
Foxen turns a flush and leads 250K. From his seat, this is a must bet. He has a strong value hand. He denies equity to single diamond hands, and he targets exactly Katola's checkbacks like King X and Jack X that hate this card but cannot fold. Katola just calls with kings and jacks. Raising would polarize himself and fold out worse while isolating only stronger flushes. Calling keeps Foxen's bluffs alive, controls the pot on a scary card, and leverages his redraw to a full house on paired rivers. The board pairs and Katola improves to a full house, kings full of jacks. Foxen sees a river that shouldn't change much against most of Katola's perceived turn call range and value bets 5,500K with his flush, targeting 1-pair hands and ace X with a diamond. Katola now has the perfect shove. Jamming for roughly 6.1 million applies maximum pressure to every non-boat hand, credibly represents exactly what he has, and captures value from any flush that decides it is too high up to fold heads up.
If Foxen calls here, it's just over. He'll be down $6 million, and I don't see how he can fold.
If we can imagine for a second that playing in such stakes is possible for us mere mortals, what would you do in Foxen's position? Let me know in the comments.
Call. He calls. The biggest pot. $11 million.
Goofy limps the big blind with King 10 suited. Limping protects his range, invites isolates from hands he dominates, and keeps the pot manageable out of position with a hand that plays cleanly post-flop. Nick airball isolates to $1,200 from under the gun with Queen 9 offsuit. The raise pressures the limp, seizes initiative, and expects to realize equity against a single caller. Goofy calls. Suited Broadway is too strong to fold, too thin to 3-bet out of position, and calling keeps Nick's range wide. Goofy checks. On an ace high, 2-diamond texture, Nick is supposed to continuation bet often, so checking lets that happen. Nick obliges for $700, a small, range-driven stab that folds air and taxes random backdoors while leaning on his perceived ace advantage. Goofy check raises to $1,700. King 10 of diamonds is a premium semi-bluff, gut shot to Broadway, the king high diamond draw, and even a royal flush. Raising clears out weak queens and 5s to 9s, charges worse draws, and starts a pot that can realize maximum value when diamonds or Broadway materialize. Nick calls with middle pair and position, keeping bluffs in and retaining control of the pot size. Bang! The third diamond lands and Goofy upgrades from a draw to the nuts. With his story perfectly coherent after the flop raise, he leads $2,000. Leading now Prince, worse diamonds pay, stubborn Queen X pays, and some Ace X talk themselves into continuing because the Jack is a counterfeit scare rather than a clean killer in their minds. Goofy goes for a small, irresistible value bet of $3,500. After check raise, lead, and a blank river, this size targets exactly what Nick shows up with most often.
Makes the call. Royale. Royale with cheese. Royal.
Schwan is looking down on pocket nines. Dylan opens to $150 with King Jack suited, classic live open that leverages position, plays well multi-way, and keeps dominated broadways in. L.A. Dylan 3 bets to $400 with Ace-8 suited, a light but sound squeeze that blocks the strongest 4 bets, takes initiative, and retains playability when called. Schwan cold calls with pocket nines in the small blind versus a wide squeeze and a single open, set mining is priced in, and nines also realize well on many flops. Dylan closes the action by calling King Jack suited, doesn't want to 4-bet and face a jam. It realizes equity cleanly in position. Schwan checks her underpair on a paired 2-diamond board. Leading folds worse and isolates better. Dylan checks in the middle 2 overcards but no diamond and sandwiched between ranges, so pot control is best. L.A. Dylan stabs $500 into a multi-way pot. That bet folds a chunk of ace-highs underpairs, charges diamond draws, and keeps his C-bet range balanced with some bluffs. Juan calls. Nines beat a lot of L.A. Dylan stabs and can improve. Raising mostly turns her hand into a bluff versus better tense flush draws. Dylan lets it go. No diamond, poor visibility. The third diamond lands and an overcard to Schwan's nines arrives. Schwan checks again, keeping her range uncapped and avoiding getting blown off equity by a check raise. From her seat, L.A. Dylan's flop stab can include many single diamond floats. Forcing those to fire again has value. L.A. Dylan checks back, very disciplined with ace-8 no diamond. His turn barrel would target mostly stronger hands and invite check raises from Schwan's diamond holdings. Checking preserves showdown value versus busted floats and protects his range for when she does show up with slow-played flushes. 4 diamonds on board plus straights complete. Ranges compress and many one-pair hands hate life. Juan leads for $2,895.
Really? I played this so bad then.